Governor Roemer, I want to ask about this cross-pressure because, you know, part of what your campaign now is about saying that these two parties, whether you're Catholic or not Catholic, simply don't capture how complicated Americans really are. So you and I are both bad Louisianans, not in Louisiana on our primary election day. But right. what are the other options if we can't figure out what to do within the Democratic or Republican Party?
Well, there's a bear in the room. There's a monster in the room. It's called corruption. I mean, social justice. Look at this Trayvon Martin tragedy. Social justice, economic justice, that does not happen in a criminal court. That does not happen in organized crime. That does not happen in deals under the table. Corruption is the enemy of justice. And America is a place that we all love. But it's a place now run by big checks and special interests. And I'm not putting down the Republican Party or the Democrat Party, but they're joined at the billfold. And that is the issue that the Republicans don't talk about in their primary, and President Obama has given up on. I mean, he said 3 weeks ago that he was going to take super PAC money and send his administration out to get it. Well, I mean, I don't like it.
Yeah, and you've been a kind of clear and powerful voice on this. It's interesting that you made this connection with the Trayvon Martin case, because we were just talking about that in our last hour. Let me turn and ask this question, because last Wednesday, Catholic bishops made their opposition around the White House contraception mandate very clear, and they've said basically that they're strongly unified, intensely focused in their opposition to religious freedom. They're going to stay on this. So we have, you know, Catholic bishops very clear in their stance around contraception issues, very clear, as you've pointed out before, on the stance around life issues. But then something happens around what feels like another kind of injustice, and it feels like faith communities, and maybe not even particularly the Catholic Church, but that there's a kind of deafening silence from those same populations. Should we expect, if the Catholic Church has teachings around all of this, that we would want to also hear from them in this moment?
Sure, although I think in this case, there's a little bit of a difference between this and some of the other issues you mentioned, in that there's not a specific governmental action for them to speak out against. Although I would imagine that the Catholic leaders in Florida would find themselves in solidarity with the African American Church and others who would seek justice in the Trayvon Martin case. Sometimes it is more difficult for the Church to speak out on issues, for example, of immigration, of poverty and social justice, because the teachings in those areas are inherently a little more nuanced. They're a little more complicated. They don't make for good sound bites. And in our soundbite political culture and soundbite social discourse, nuanced positions often get lost.